Today's webinar is Fighting the Effects of Sequestration and Continuing Education, and we're happy to have Betty Gardner and Kevin Smith of ProTrain with us today. And my name is Chris Murphy, and I'm with Augusoft, and today's webinar is being brought to you by Augusoft. And for those who may be new to Augusoft, we develop a software tool called Lumens, which is an enrollment management system designed for the continuing education industry. But before we get going, just wanted to run through just a couple of real basic guidelines for the webinar. First off, we will be asking a couple of polling questions throughout the course of the webinar today, and you'll see those displayed on your screen, and then you have about a minute to respond. Then we'll read off the answers, and then we'll continue on with the presentation. We are definitely encouraging anyone who's got questions to send those in, and you can do that by just typing out a question on the questions toolbar, and then we'll spend a little time at the end of the presentation answering your questions. And then finally, just wanted to let you know that we are recording the webinar today, as we do all of the webinars here at Augusoft, and we'll provide a link to the recording as well as copies of the slides on our website, and so that link will be available probably within the next 24 hours, and you should receive an email notification on when that's ready to go. And so with that, just wanted to turn things over to Betty and Kevin, and just a bit about Betty. Betty Gardner is a proven leader in the field of education. She's been an educator, training director, and served at a major university in preparation before her forming ProTrain. And under her inspired leadership and expertise, she has positioned the ProTrain business platform to provide world-class training in the classroom or online. And since ProTrain has been established, Betty has grown the organization revenues by over 500%, and her global reach in the training industry makes her and ProTrain the optimal partner for your institution's needs today. And Kevin Smith is a proven multifunctional logistician, a trainer and logistician, and he served our nation's Army proudly with 30 years of progressive, responsible senior level leadership and training and management experience. He's also a combat veteran of the war in Iraq, and through his superior leadership skills and his proven achievements in extensive activities focused on logistics management and training management with the military and industry, he brings a level of understanding that benefits ProTrain and any of their existing or new educational partners. And so with that, I welcome Betty and Kevin.
Thank you, Chris.
Betty?
I really do appreciate the introduction. And I want to say a big, warm thank you to everyone out there. We did get a pre-registration list of those who were considering listening to the webinar, and I do see that we have some existing customers that ProTrain works with that's considering listening to what we have to say and learning about Augusoft and our relationship with Augusoft and the Lumen software. We have some new potential partners that we hope that we answer your questions. And I just really want to encourage a very open dialogue, and you know, as we are talking, and you know, jot down your questions, send them to chat to Chris, and we'll get everything answered. So, Chris, with that, if you'll go to the next slide, we'll get started, because I know everybody's time is valuable, and we want to make sure it's worthwhile for you guys. So sit back, relax, and let's have a good time. One of the things I did want to say, in addition to my background of what Chris had said, just so you'll understand where I'm coming from and one of the reasons that ProTrain was formed, and also one of the reasons we partner with Augusoft Lumens. In a former lifetime, as Chris mentioned, I did work for a major university. It was actually North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was the director of the computer training unit in continuing ed. I absolutely loved my job, loved everything about it. We were having classes 7 days a week, 5 nights a week, online, in classroom, and blended. But as you all know, when you're working that much and you're still having to go to meetings, reports, interviewing instructors, doing evaluations, keeping students happy, especially those special students, it does become a bit much. So ProTrain was formed to try to help be an extension arm of everything that you all on this phone call do. We don't pretend to be the complete solution. We do, however, tout that we can be a great extension arm of your unit and what you do as little or as much as you would need help with. So that's a little bit about my background. I've done many things in customer service. I've been a programmer. I've been a teacher at a major university as well as community college, as well as, being, the director. And now I just feel like I get to work with all you wonderful people and being able to provide training in the different ways, modes of operation, to, many, many different verticals to help you in these uncertain times to be able to provide education. And I will pause for a moment just to see if Kevin wants to say anything else about his background, and then we'll get really started into our webinar.
Thanks, Betty, and I welcome all of you who have taken this time out today to learn some more about us. Chris, don't feel bad. Only logisticians know how to pronounce that 3 times out of 4 correctly. That's a lot of syllables in one word. Don't feel bad. Everybody mispronounces it. Back to you, Betty.
Okay. Well, as you can see from our mission statement, and I'll try to summarize because, we're all adults and you guys can read, ProTrain really was formed to try to help you all to deliver affordable, quality training to your service area, through the direct relationships with you, with community colleges, universities, on your behalf to corporations, nonprofits, and servicing our military. And we want to do that providing quality educational services to provide education to employment because, as you will see, and you saw by the name of our presentation about sequestration, you're going to see, if you didn't already know, it affects every single one of us on this call and anybody who's not on it. So we're trying to make a difference with you. Next slide. So our future, what does our future mean? Everybody on this call has the opportunity to affect every single person that walks through your office, every person that sends you an email, or if you're at a conference or a trade show or, anything, because education is the key to our future. We have so many people. I don't know how many of you out there have, children or grandchildren. You can see what's happening. You can see the effects of, our internet age and, everybody being on their iPads, their phones, the internet, and, they're communicating through chat and instant messaging. We have to help make a difference so our generations to follow can make a difference on the future. Otherwise, we're going to be behind the times. Education is the one thing that we can all give ourselves and set an example for our friends, our loved ones, our families, our children, our nieces, our nephews, because if they see that one student, and we'll talk about in continuing ed terms, because I'm a big believer on the academic side as well, but we're talking about CE right now. You take a certification class, you pass that, you get a better job with that, and your son or your daughter, your niece or your nephew or your cousin or your neighbor sees that, you make a difference that might impact their life and generations to come. I really think that the roles and responsibilities that everybody on this phone call holds, I hope you realize the impact that you can have on our future because, we all see what's going on, and we can help to affect people by balancing their life, their career, and their future. And with that, I'd like to get to know more about who's on our call so we can talk more relevant to you. So I think Chris has a couple of polling questions.
Yes, thanks, Betty. So as Betty did say, the first question was basically just asking what role do you hold at your institution, and so if you could just take a little time to respond, then we'll read off the results of that, and then we have one other question after that, and then we'll continue on with the presentation. So we'll just give you a little more time here to respond to the first question, and then we can wrap that one up and then move on to the second one. All right, so let's see what we've got here for the first question. So kind of a mix, about 36% of you are directors are at the senior leadership level, 36% are CE program coordinators, and then 27% kind of fall into the other category. And let's get the second question up here. What verticals are covered by your CE department? And so we got a couple of choices from you to choose from. You can actually choose multiple choices on this one. So if you've got all or just a couple. You can choose as many as you'd like with this one.
And Chris?
Actually, it probably helps if I launched it. So let me do that first, and so there's the question. So give everybody a little more time to respond here. I see people are starting to get their answers in. And we'll just give you a few more seconds here to respond, and then we'll read off the results and then continue on with the presentation. So let's see where we're at here with this question. All right, so it looks like 64% are providing WIA, 36% my CAA, 36% providing TA, 73% have self-pay, and 64% corporate. So kind of a good mix across the board of different options that people are utilizing. All right, so with that, I think we'll continue on. So
Thank you.
Back to you, Betty and Kevin.
And Chris, I appreciate you doing those two polling questions because, you know, whether we were sitting face-to-face or, you know, just having a personal talk with each other or a webinar, these statistics really help show me a lot. It tells me that you all are aware on some, you know, on some level the effects of sequestration, what it means to our country, what it means to you, the institution, and how it affects the students that may or may not be able to come to your institution to take classes. And I know we're not talking about the academic side now, but it affects that side. But it really, I think that a lot of continuing education departments, especially if you're not really heavily involved in what's going on in the Hill, or if you're not near a major military institution, you may not understand that it really does affect you too. And I hope by the time we're done with our webinar that you'll see that. And it means a lot to me that we have 36% of our listeners are senior leadership. It tells me that it's of high value to you. And the senior leaders that are on this webinar, they either have some of their program coordinators or they thought it was important enough for their program coordinators, you know, their main right arms, if you will, to say, what is this webinar about? Does ProTrain know what they're talking about? Maybe they've got something that they can assist us with, you know, in working in partnership with Augusoft. And then we've got 27% that are, you know, other listeners. So we have a wide variety of people who understand the importance of this webinar. And the diversity of the second question, workforce development, 64%. I mean, that did not surprise me at all with the amount of unemployed people that we have. And we could go off on a whole other webinar and just talk about, you know, WIA and the funding and how that ebbs and flows. And, you know, we hold our breath. Will they have money, you know, this fiscal year? What month will it come? And we have to be prepared for those ebbs and flows. And I do see that some of you have created other verticals to help yourself with other streams of revenue, such as MyCA. We'll get into that. ProTrain has been involved in the military spouse program since its beta inception. So those of you who are participating, you'll know exactly what I mean. We're very, very heavily involved in that and do a great job. Tuition assistance, direct impact by sequestration. You guys know that it was turned off for a couple weeks. It's been turned back on. We're going to talk about some of the impacts on that. And we do see a lot of self-pay people coming back because we've went so long in our economy with so many people being unemployed and so many people trying to find, what can I do to help myself? What can I do to put food on the table? People are finding resources to pay for it out of their pocket to try to help them. So that does not surprise me. And I do know that, you know, corporations are turning around because they've went so long and they've not been training their employees. They've been laying people off. They've got to start reinvesting in, you know, they've got to start reinvesting in the people that are going to make their company sustain. So you'll see as we go through this presentation how we can assist you if you need it with any of these verticals. So Chris, with that, I would ask you to go to the next slide, please. We're going to talk, here's some of the things we're going to go over today, just so you'll know that it's not a waste of your time. We're going to talk about an overview of sequestration and what are some of the effects it can have directly on you in your specific continuing ed unit, in your town, in your state. It's not just affecting major cities, it's affecting rural areas, it's affecting everyone. And how can you determine if your department's ready? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that ProTrain's your answer for everything. You have to decide what the diversification for your unit is. We may be an option. We hope that we are. We feel like we've got some quality value adds, not just courses, but value adds of things that we provide to support you in your efforts. Because, you know, as many companies are laying people off or furloughing people, I know it affects you as well. I mean, many of my colleagues and friends at major universities and community colleges have been furloughed, you know, have to take furlough days, and they have to downsize. How can ProTrain be an extension arm of your unit to help you not lose that continuity that you need with your service area? We're going to talk about how can we better review what you're doing, put a game plan together how we can weather this sequestration storm, how ProTrain helps you, how we actually try to make a conscious decision to match our course catalog offerings to match high-in-demand portable careers that the Department of Labor says these are the jobs within the next 5 to 10 years that people will be hiring in. I would be doing a disservice to you and to your student if I offered you something that wasn't on this list to help people get a job. And how we take all these value adds and services that we do and provide a total learning solution, not just I provide you a class, good luck on selling it. How we work in a concerted effort to help you meet the goals with that partner support that we provide. And Augusoft is very much a value-added partner of ProTrain, and we have partnered with many of Lumen's partners, and we've helped bring on other people who want ProTrain and Lumen's together to make an efficient system for delivery of their programs on behalf of their school. And how can we help you be sustainable? Many continuing ed departments, as you all well know, are self-supporting. And if you can't self-support, you might not be there, and I don't want that to happen. I've seen that happen to some places. My whole life in the university world has been in the self-supporting arena. So it's like running your own business, whether anybody wants to tell you that or not. And we will be doing as many questions and answers as you want on this presentation. I highly encourage you also that if there's things that you want to talk to us about offline, the very last slide of this presentation will give you our direct contact information. We'll be glad to spend as much time with you as you want to discuss your individualized issues that you might want help with. So if that works for everybody, Chris, we'll go to the next slide. And so, Kevin, I think that this will be a good opportunity with your background in the military and understanding these types of things to go over our next few slides with our viewers.
Thanks, Betty. And once again, good afternoon to everybody. There's a lot of information out there on the effects of the economy, particularly trying to explain this phenomenon called sequestration down to its basic essential points. And so I've went through a lot of material, and I've tried to break it down into small bite-sized pieces that our listeners today can best understand. The bottom line up front is that sequestration is already begun. And what that means overall to the economy is about $1.2 trillion across the next 9 years are going to be taken out of our budgets. When you look at what that means in terms of the budgets over the next 9 years, okay, there's about $984 billion that will come out of spending, and because of some programs being turned off, some associated cost avoidance or savings at about $216 billion. You can then see the red and the blue side of the chart, which basically cuts the $984 billion sequestrement in half. Half of that is going to come out of the Department of Defense spending, particular lower annual discretionary funding, and that's everything from educational programs, things like tuition assistance that had been temporarily suspended, to canceling the development of major weapon systems. On the non-defense side, and a side that does affect us all, is you're going to see lower annual discretionary funding cut by $322 billion. That and the other mandatory cuts of $41 billion represent probably about 75% of the $492 billion that will be cut. I know that not all of our school partners participate in the MyCAA program, and they're not necessarily right outside or next to a large military installation. So you might be thinking, well, what does the Department of Defense budget cuts mean to me in my organization? Well, if you're right down the street from a major defense contractor and they stop making the weapon systems or the parts for those weapon systems, those people will be unemployed immediately when the Department of Defense lines through their program, and they are cut, and they turn that plant or that facility down. So a pretty big impact from the overall scheme of things. But I want to zero in from the top view now into things that I think are a little bit more relevant for the CE staffs particularly. Next chart, please, Chris. There are two areas where I see that budget cuts can immediately affect programs. You can see in education there is about a $5.3 billion cut, and in the Labor Department you'll see about another $1.1 billion in cuts. We have not seen any cuts yet in the Veterans Administration. I know that there are a lot of veterans that are holding their breath, hoping that there are no cuts there, but things can change just as fast as they changed for tuition assistance last week. They could change in cuts to VA entitlements. So when you have to cut this many billions of dollars, there's not a lot of things that are going to be left off the table that could not be considered for a cut, and therefore the possible effects that it will have on continuing ed. All the sources for data that we use, by the way, have come out of the Office of Management and Budget and can be accessed on the website links that we give you at the end of this briefing. Next chart, please. So what do these cuts really mean? Well, it means in the short term, in the next year and a half, between the end of this year and next year, if the sequestration takes effect, it could affect over 1 million jobs. If that happens, you could see the unemployment rate could go from about 7.7% to just over 9% in less than half a year. For example, in the state of Virginia, where I'm at alone, they believe that sequestration will affect 270,000 jobs in the state of Virginia alone. So once again, even though you might not have a lot of military bases right next to you, there are a lot of government contractors that spread their contracts out over all 50 states. And when they do, all 50 states will be affected in some way by program cuts and therefore job cuts. Chris, I believe you've got our next two polling questions to put out, please.
Yes. Thanks, Kevin. And so the first question kind of ties into what Kevin has been talking about, and it's basically, are you already seeing the early effects of any sequestration or pending budget cuts on your CE department? And so just got a couple of options for you to choose from. If you want to respond, then we'll get the answers read off, and then we've got another question right after that, and then we'll continue on with Kevin and Betty's presentation. We'll just give you a little more time to respond to this question, and then we'll get the answer up and then get the next question up. All right, so let's see what people had to say with this question. And 42% of you said that yes, you are seeing effects already, and 25% said not yet, but are concerned that you will be seeing some effects soon, and 33% of you said that no, you are not seeing anything yet at this point. So let's get the next question up, and then we'll continue on. And then the third question is, does your CE department have a balanced portfolio of products and market segments, etc.? And we'll be touching about the balanced portfolio here in the next couple slides. I just wanted to get an idea from people on where they stand with this question right now. So we'll just give you a little more time to respond, and then we'll get the answers off and continue on here with the presentation. All right, let's see what people had to say with this question. And 30% of you said that yes, you do have a well-balanced portfolio, which is great to hear. 60% of you said that your CE department could use some more diversification, and 10% said no, and we could use more assistance. So pretty interesting results there from those questions. So Kevin, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, Chris, thanks. Next chart, please. I think from the results that you've seen here, folks, you've seen that for the vast majority of folks that have tuned in today, your time, I think, will be well spent in the next half hour or so. One of the things that I think you have to do is you have to look at the balance within your continuing education's portfolios. And a very, very timely article came out at the beginning of this month. Many of you know or have heard of Greg Marcello, who's the Vice President of Development Learn, a great partner with us, a great partner with Lumens. And I thought his article was absolutely timely given everything else that's going on about us, because when people are making budget cuts and they're not sure where to spend their money, your continuing education departments have to have a balanced portfolio. And in Greg's article, he talks about the 3 ways to make sure you're doing the right analysis of what your continuing education portfolio looks at, by both product area, the market segment that you're trying to attract, as well as the methods of delivery that you are pushing education to your clients and your students. The basic theory here is no one product area should be greater than 30% of your overall product revenues. It doesn't mean that they can't be over that. It just means that you want to make sure that there's really no one market segment that you put all your eggs in that basket, so that if that basket dries up, you've lost everything that you've invested your time and your resources and your people in, versus maybe only a third of your market segment revenues or your total registrations and contracts that you're trying to attract. No one single delivery method, by that I mean online, blended, or in classroom, should be the total wherewithal of how you're reaching your students, particularly in today's world where learning is whenever your students want it. It's got to be more diversified than just people coming to a classroom for continuing education. I can't go any place in mass transit today and not see people learning and communicating on mobile training devices. It is how this Xbox generation is come to learn in everything that it touches, and the fact of being 3 button clicks away from everything it needs. Your method of delivery has to be able to be both in classroom, online, and blended. And if it's not, you want to take a look at that, because being out of balance is a financial risk today with these uncertain times. Next chart, please. These are some of the steps that you should be thinking about taking in making sure that you do have a balanced portfolio. You want to perform analysis by your product areas, the market segments that you are targeting those, and those methods of delivery you're using. Don't stop growing any area that's over 30%, but I just want you to be aware and continue to be aware of that, and continue to grow the things that are your stars are the things that are bringing in the majority of your revenue. Even at ProTrain, we're very attuned to the fact that even though we offer over 500 courses, the top 50 to 75 courses we offer are probably generating about 80% of all of the courses we sell to our students and our continuing ed partners utilize and are growing their revenues at. So you want to be careful in your analysis and be willing to cut out any dogs, as I'll call them, or underperforming areas that are just not allowing you and your continuing ed staff the time and the resources you need to help grow those other segment areas. Particularly in CE departments that are only 1 or 2 persons deep, you don't want to be wasting your time going after underperforming areas. You want to go after what is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck and your resources and your time that not only brings in revenue to your CE program, but helps the most people in your service area. You want to be able to rank your areas and help determine which ones are the easiest then to grow and help increase your programming and marketing sales efforts in those stars, not the dogs. One of the things that Greg also talks about is don't be afraid to introduce one new area that could have the potential of bringing in at least $100,000 of potential revenue, or at least 5% of your overall budget in the next 3 years if you're a smaller continuing ed program. When I say a smaller continuing ed program, if you're not bringing in close to a 7-digit revenue, you need to be looking at the potential of increasing your revenue by at least 5% over the next 3 years in something new before you would consider bringing it on board. Then once you've done that, it's absolutely important to continue to evaluate the performance of your products, your market segments, and your delivery methods on a quarterly basis. This economy can turn on a dime. We've all seen it for the last several years, and it will continue to be just that tricky for the next couple of years ahead. So you want to make sure that you're continuing to do some analytics of what's working and what's failing to work in your organization. Chris, can we have the next polling question, please?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. So you should all see now on the screen the next question, which is, are you happy with your total outreach plan for meeting the needs in all your service areas going into the next fiscal year? And so just give you a little time to respond to that, then we'll get the results up and then wrap up things with Kevin and Betty. We'll just give you a little more time to respond here, and then we'll get the results up on the screen. Okay, let's see what we have here for results. And 36% of you are happy with the totals for next year, 9% are not sure, and then 55%, the majority, are not happy at this point. We'll turn things back over to you, Kevin and Betty.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. And next slide, please. I find the statistics, as Kevin's been talking, and the bullet points he's been talking about, is very serious matters, which I'm sure, even if we don't have a large audience today, which I have no idea that we do or not, but the ones who are on this call, I respect you because you're taking this matter of sequestration, and they put a fancy term on it, and we've been going through this for the last several years of, our economy changes, it ebbs and flows. We've got so many people that are unemployed, and then you've got people that maybe they're not unemployed anymore, but they took jobs that were at lower level paying rates than what they went to school for and what they were doing, but then they had to settle because they had to put food on the table. And then God help their souls, we have those people who are unemployed that have fell off the map that are no longer even trying. And if you can't tell or not, it means the world to me for you, our listeners, and us as ProTrain, as well as with Augusoft, we're helping to try to make a difference for those people. I mean, we are part of America, and we're trying to do all that we can to assist. And some of the statistics that you guys said, like some of you are very confident that you've got your game plan together to get your ROI for the next fiscal year. Some of you are unsure. I mean, we're all unsure. Nobody's 100% confident. But for the 55% that told me that were very honest in saying no, I hope you can feel the appeal that we want to be able to help you. We might not be your only solution, but I do know that we can help a lot. So I wanted to say that in preparation of talking about how ProTrain can assist. So Chris, next slide, please. ProTrain was formed out of the passion of what I love doing, as a state employee, and being able to have outreach and extensions and to help all of you all, and to be able to make you not have to, work 7 days a week and figure and wonder, when am I going to get to, the next meeting? How am I going to get out of this red tape? I've got so many things I've got going on. How can I create new verticals? How in the world am I going to be able to, find the new exciting products and keep up to date and keep all that knowledge, whether it be in classroom or online, current and relevant with the latest version, so I don't have the next headache student saying, oh my God, you just sold me an old version and I can't prepare for the exam. ProTrain is a new approach. We not only provide you, as I said earlier, the in-classroom, the online, and blended, we provide you a lot of other things that we're getting ready to talk about. Of course, it has to be affordable student pricing. And even when it's affordable, you're still going to have people that call your department. I had it happen at NC State. Well, why can't I take the class for free? I'm a senior citizen. And then you have to go and explain to them, because you're not the academic side, you're a sales and receipt-oriented department. I had all those questions too. We want to make a partnership that's profitable for you. I know that your senior leadership is looking at your department and saying, why are you there? How are you sustaining yourself? And what value do you bring? It's not only the intangible of what you're bringing to the student and being able to make the economic impact on your area where you can measure that and put in your end-of-the-year reporting. It's what impact are you making in your department to be self-sustaining, and then if you are lucky enough to create a surplus where other departments can take money from you to pay their credit card bills and things like that. Been there, done that. We are about education to employment, offering the right certification, certificates, and courses to help everybody. We've got over 200 unique courses that other providers don't have. How do we come up with those? Research. We do a lot of research on what people want all over the country and beyond, and what's in demand and what people are hiring for. And blended is going the wave of the future. I mean, online is great, and we offer it, and we're very proud of offering what we do because we stand by the quality of our product, best in breed, the progress reports, and the attention that we give to students through the entire class on your behalf. Blended in your specific areas, whether it be in classroom blended or even if we do telecom blended, don't be afraid to think out of the box of how to create revenue. Don't be afraid of, oh, I got to stay in my service area. When we talk about online and outreaching people through different modes of communication, the world is your oyster. You just have to be able to go after it and know the right way and have the right partners to help you with that. We enjoy helping our partners call on corporate relationships in your area of people you've served in the last 3 to 5 years, or companies that you wish you had the time to, and we can help you do that and help you create group sales, whether it be in person, online, whether we send an instructor to a company site or send one to your school site to do this. We can create learning portals for the corporation co-branded with your website and the company's website for any online options that the company may want. We've had some success with some of our schools who are forward thinking on getting courses approved for VA. If you hadn't noticed, we got a lot of veterans coming out. We've got a lot of veterans coming out that don't have the full 25, 30 years retirement. And These aren't veterans that can just stay at home and gain a paycheck. These are veterans that have only been in for a few years, and reality has just slapped them in the face, and they've got to go get a job. They've got to now make a house payment. They've now got to go put food on the table and keep the lights turned on. They're not 25, 30-year veterans, as most people think. They're just like you and me. They got to figure out what's next. We have to get our programs approved in continuing ed, because our certification programs, and when I say our, I mean the collective our, that's what they want. I get calls every single week from veterans that want to take certification classes. The military spouse program, 36% of you say that you're working with that. For the other percent that's not, I'll give you just a teaser on it. We work with the military spouse program. It's a program, it's an entitlement for certain spouses where their active duty service member has certain ranks. Most of those ranks qualify for food services. The military spouse qualifies for $4,000 worth of training in certificate, certification, and associate degree programs. They are your target market. If you're not going after them, we can help you. We have over 130 different online certification programs with the exam vouchers included. Guess what? Military spouses want to take online because guess what? They don't stay in one location. They can't start your program in classroom and stay there for a year or two. They want to be mobile when they're PCS'd from one base to another. They want to shut their laptop down with their class, travel to their new point of destination, and continue their class and get their certificate from you. I'm very confident in saying we're experts in being able to help you with that and target market it and help increase your revenues. I've been involved with workforce development since 1997. We help our partner schools that want us to nationwide in picking the appropriate classes for your service area. We'll actually help you fill out the paperwork and submit them on your behalf to the local WIBs to get them approved for potential funding. Do it all the time. We'd like to explore it with you. If you're a small department and you don't have a person that's your grant writer or responds to RFPs, let us know something that you want us to help you with, and we'll write it together with you. Not for us, but together as us. We go to events on your behalf, and for tuition assistance, as Kevin had said, it was some scary times in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I was sick to my stomach that tuition assistance was cut off, not only just for as being an educator, but these servicemen and women that joined the service to serve our country, but yet to gain an education because they might not have had other means, and then they cut that off. What message does that send to the rest of our country about people who might be thinking about becoming a service member? You don't matter. We don't care if we educate you. Well, thank goodness they had sense enough to turn that back on. So we do live in a time of uncertain times, and that's why in these times of sequestration, for unemployed, even for military, etc., we together have to plan a game plan on how to create different verticals together, because education to employment is what your clients need, they demand, and that's what we want to help you achieve. Next slide, please. So we have an all-inclusive learning methodology. We just don't want your students out there saying, oh, here you go, good luck with that class. No, we got a total learning solution for them. I'll just talk about our online learning right now. We provide a training assessment manager, not a salesperson. Don't like that word. We're in the business of training, assessing your needs as our partner school, assessing the needs of your potential students, and managing that from cradle to grave. If we meet a student either online, in person, email, etc., we will stay with that student from the moment they have a question to they become a student, throughout the entire process of running progress reports on them, ensuring their success, and if it's time for an exam, if it was included, helping them procure that and taking it to their local testing facility all the way from start to finish. Why do we do that? Don't want to sell a headache, want to provide a success story, want to get referrals. It's easier to get referrals than make upsells to people that are happy. That's what we want to do. We stand by our online learning curriculum. Some of our classes are open enrollment, where you can enroll today, tomorrow, next week, same class. Some of them have monthly starts, where same class starts, and it's like 6 weeks at a time. Why do we have different classes, open enrolling, monthly, self-paced? Because different people have different learning styles and different ways that they live. We don't want to assume that we know how everybody is. We do provide all textbooks and materials. We provide subject matter experts for every single class that we have. We also, get this, we have a real live human being that's a real live 1-800 number and email address that when you pick up the phone or you email, a real live human being is going to get back with you and answer your questions. Get that. We do not have press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for that. You really get a person. We're preparing you for the exams. We've talked about progress reports. And if you actually, your school, if you've got some ideas on some online classes, maybe you've got some in-classroom stuff that you know that's a really great class, but you'd like to have outreach beyond your service area, if you've got a really good idea, you want to bring it to the table and we can decide that we're going to sell at least 12 of those online classes in a year, we'll develop that most likely at no charge to you. You don't have to pay a big programming team to develop these online courses. It's our commitment to you as a partner. And on the flip side of that coin, I expect your commitment to me to help me make you successful, if that makes sense. Next slide, please. I really do know that we offer world-class partner support. ProTrain prides itself in being different, in offering certificate and certification programs, education to employment, and the value adds and services, the personal touch that we give in representing you in person, on the phone, touching base with you and your students on a regular basis so you don't have to wonder, who's my rep again? We treat you like family, and we hope to establish that rapport with you. We've talked about we research our classes and why we pick the ones that we do. Some of our school partners actually want us to help them with infrastructure setup. We've got one school in California that has their home base, and then they have 2 satellite offices, and they want us to help them man all of those. And we help do that program expansion with you, for you, as you need it. We provide free marketing materials. We build you a free site where you can go download professional marketing collateral that we brand with your logo, your contact information. Doesn't cost you anything. We've already done it. We do it right the first time so we can recycle it. Told you we provide you a real live training assessment manager to assess and help the student and help and assess your needs and be a part of your team. If you feel it appropriate, we'll attend job fairs and seminars and yellow ribbon events on your behalf, either in person or through webinars such as we're doing now. We've done it a lot. Our courses do have search engine optimization, and I can tell you that we are in the process of actually spending a lot of time, energy, and resources in taking search engine optimization and social media to the next level for all of our partner schools. I've already mentioned that we'll do the WIA course submission for you. All you have to do is sign the paperwork or give us the permission to submit it on your behalf. Love to do corporate opportunities and RFP, and we do in-classroom for those institutions of higher learning that want that help. Next slide, please. I've done a lot of talking. I wanted to show you some examples of some real live Augusoft Lumen partners that we have. Our promise to you is that we will be an extension arm of you in the capacity that you want. We have about 225 different partners now. We have 225 different ways of doing business. We document what you want, what you don't want, your likes, your dislikes, and our training assessment managers work with you in the manner that you want. So you see a sample of some of the partners. And with the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin because I think you all have heard me talk for quite a bit now. And so I'm going to give my voice a rest and let Kevin talk.
Thanks, Betty. Next chart, please, Chris. We're going to go through the next several charts pretty quick because I want to be able to get some good question and answer period left before we close out today. Betty talked about our courses and the certifications that we provide and what's most important to you in particularly making sure you have a diversified portfolio for your students is the fact that we've done extensive research with each of the 50 states to make sure that the courses that we offer you, those certification courses, match at a rate of 65 to 75% what each of the states have told the Department of Labor they want to improve their unemployment rates in and therefore improve their economy. What you serve your customers with must match what the top demand lists are, particularly in the WIA world, because they're not going to pay money for tuition assistance vouchers for things that won't get people meaningful jobs and help recover in the economy of your area. We've done that work for you, and we can help target those for you well. Next chart. This is just to show you what the top courses are that we sold last year, and at a quick glance you'll see that there's no one functional area here. It's a very well balanced portfolio of classes across a wide range of those 14 functional areas that I mentioned that are the epitome of the education to employment moniker that we've got there. We understand what students want and what will do well for them and for your CE departments. Next chart. The benefits of what we have done, I think, come out of the testimonials that we're already hearing from students and employers who are, in some cases, reinvesting back in their employees. Last year, 8% of Business America started to invest in their own employees' education, and we're starting to see that. We also saw a trend this year that showed that almost a third of our revenues from our school were actually self-pay, not workforce investment, not some tuition assistance program, but people taking money out of their own pockets as well to better themselves and become more productive in the labor force today. It's the alignment of our certification programs with what the Department of Labor tells us is the right jobs for this economy right now that can help every continuing education partner on this call today achieve a more balanced portfolio across many portable, high-demand career fields. Once again, it's education to employment that matters today most. Next chart. The new career trends that you need to make sure you're also considering as you're looking at your portfolios that we've done are those that range between healthcare, energy jobs, manufacturing, civilian blue-collar work in maintenance, okay? A lot of digital home security, cybersecurity has a huge growth area that we have courses in, as well as engineering in biochemical and engineering specialties, which will be required. Across this, again, you have to ask yourself, is my continuing education department ready to address these emerging career trend fields in the next couple years? And if you're not offering something in every one of those, you're missing out on an opportunity not only to support your economy, but to build your clientele. Next chart. We do have a lot of experience for those that are around military bases, okay, in helping continuing ed partners not just be military friendly, but be military purposeful in the types of programs that you offer to the active duty in the tuition assistance program that did get turned back on for the remainder of the fiscal year and probably will not go attacked again next year because of Congress's oversight. The My CAA program, as well as things that you could do to help your school put together blended programs for wounded warriors who need similar learning accommodations that kids with attention deficit disorder already get accommodations for, but I don't.
The organizer has ended the session.
Recording this session, so that will be up afterwards. Thanks for those who stayed on. We'll probably also have a backup session if possible. When we left the air, we were talking about making sure that we have meaningful programs for our wounded warriors. We've also done a lot to work with congressional leadership to get VA courses approved, Public Law 111-377 specifically recognizes that our veterans, for the most part, won't be going back to school full-time if they don't have a pension, and certifications are ideal for them to quickly, combined with their military experience, to quickly get them hired and back into the workforce as soon as possible. And we can help you and your school do that in working with your state's educational liaison representatives wherever possible. We have expertise in teaching project management for civil affairs groups, as well as supporting any National Guard Yellow Ribbon events before units deploy, so that their spouses understand the educational entitlements that the MyCA program can provide them. Anybody who deals with either military or government entities knows that everybody with a government computer has to have information assurance training, and rather than having those clients go and spend an entire week at a boot camp and thousands of dollars to rent a hotel and per diem and lodging and all those costs, we can provide it for you at a fraction of that cost with a year's access to information assurance learning like A+, Net+, Security+, CCNA, and MCITP, the things that information assurance folks must have to be able to operate those domains. Next chart, please, Chris. It's important, I think, that you know what our current Lumens partners are doing and saying, in that most of them don't take all of our courses, but they work really well with selecting the things that will complement with what is already working and make it work even better in terms of growing their STAR courses. Focusing on those 200-plus certifications that Betty talked about that we offer uniquely that no others do, and the absolute love and the attention that our training assessment managers and pro-train leadership can provide your continuing education department by our total involvement with your school. In doing so, we have become a true extension arm of your staff in helping you with marketing, program ideas, and progress reports on your student, so that the balanced portfolio that we help you put in place for your school will work and work well, and continue to refine that over time with you to drive sales to a higher level. One of the nicest compliments that we've had in quite some time was provided us from St. Paul College and our partner Janelle Westphere, and I'll just let you read that for a couple seconds there, and the nice words that she said about partnering with ProTrain and helping her organization go to the next level. Betty is going to talk to you next about some strategies about how to increase your continuing education income and some wrap-up notes. Betty?
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Chris. And for any listeners that are still out there, thank you for being a trooper and dialing back in. And Chris, I would ask that if you would, for those who got cut off and didn't have time or were not aware of how to dial back in, if you would let them know that the complete webinar is there and they could fast forward just to hear the end of it if they so desire. Because I really do feel like what we have to say could be beneficial to many people that were or are still on the call. So thank you for that. Just for your knowledge sake, there are 4 slides left, just so you know. We actually do follow some of the same trends that you all do. A lot of the same organizations we're corporate sponsors of, and attendee as exhibitors, etc. And one of them is Learn. We're a big partner with Learn. And just as Kevin had shared an earlier article from Greg with you, there's one here from Julia in January of this year as well. It's very relevant to ProTrain. 4 ways you can build your revenues. Well, common sense tells you want to increase the number of customers or clients. The frequency that they buy from you, if one person buys more than one time, there you've increased it or doubled it or whatever. Increase the dollar value of every sale. How can I do that? Perhaps maybe I can make meaningful bundles together at more cost-effective packages than just buying the class by itself. Perhaps I can bundle something that's a foundation-type product to for someone to take and put on their resume. It's more cost effective for the student. It allows the school to have outreach, and quite frankly, it's more profit for the school, and it's more cost effective for the student, so it's a win-win. How can we increase the effectiveness of your CE business by delivering your products through reliable and consistent systems? Well, you're talking to them right now, ProTrain and Augusoft. How can ProTrain help? By radically increasing your leads and follow-on business, because you've got a resource, you've got an extension arm to help you do that. We understand what it's like to sell, to market, to do extensive research in your area to the different verticals you want to sell to. And how do we upsell and put together creative, meaningful education to employment bundling packages? And we're really into social media right now and how to, we're actually, as I said earlier in the webinar, we're overhauling all of our websites to have more social media and SEO optimization for your benefit. Our subject matter experts are there to help your students with their course content and with technical expertise, being a true extension. Next slide, please. This is just some helpful links. As we were doing some research for this webinar as well as some other things, if you want to download this webinar and go and click on these links, you're going to find some really interesting information that's critical for continuing education. I didn't put links on here that was going to tell you about the academic side or anything other than what's beneficial to you. These links have information on the National Council for Workforce Education. If you click on one of the links, you can pick your state out of the 50 states and see what the state sequestration issue briefs are for your state. You'll click on another link and it's going to tell you about the potential impact of sequestration on key employment and training programs in your state, not nationwide, but your state. You need to know what's going on where you are. So this is information that if you take the initiative to download this webinar, you'll find out what's going on with you. Next slide. And for those of you who are left, and I say that with a smile, we're going to entertain questions, and Chris is going to go to the last slide so you can write down our contact information if you like. And Chris, if you've had some questions along the line that we can entertain, we'd be more than happy to. And again, I invite anybody who would want to talk to us offline. We're very accessible. You've got multiple ways. And the last slide, 26, is our contact information. So with that, Chris, I'm going to turn it back over to you, but I do want to say thank you to everybody who listened, who may be listening to this after the fact or who may be listening to it now. It was our sincere pleasure to be able to share with you what ProTrain does and our passion and love for education, and we'd love to talk with you about being a partner. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Betty, and thanks, Kevin, for a great presentation. And again, apologize for the technical difficulties there towards the end. And unfortunately, I think we lost a number of people when that happened. And so I'm looking right now at the questions. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm not sure if we got those lost in the transition as well. So if anybody does have any last-minute questions, you can just send those in through the toolbar on the right-hand side part of your screen. And we'll just take a few more minutes here to respond. Otherwise, I think we can probably wrap things up, and then we'll definitely send out a message to everybody who registered and attended and get them the link to the recording so they can get to the last part that was cut off. So right now I'm not seeing any questions at this point, so I think we might have lost most of our audience, unfortunately. So I think we'll just wrap things up from there. Oh. Well, just a basic question on when the link in the presentation will be available. Again, we get those up within 24 hours, so just have to load those up on YouTube and do a few other things. So they should be up probably within the next 24 hours, and so look for an email on that, and then we'll provide links to both the recordings as well as copies of the slides. So with that, I think we're ready to...
Hey, Chris, will we be able to mold the two segments into one? From the recorded standpoint?
I think I can do that. I'll double check and see how hard that is, but I think I should be able to get them to merge to be one continuous download so we can just have one file that people can access. So I think that should be doable. And if not, I'll just have to provide two links.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris, and I'm not sure if we're still recording, but I do thank you for your time, and for those of you who do listen to the presentation, we sincerely thank you for your time as well.
Great. Okay, well, thanks again, Betty and Kevin, and thanks to everybody who signed in today and also who stuck around towards the end. Thanks very much.
All right, bye-bye, and thank you.